Hello and welcome to Workout Wednesday 2021 Week 5. So in this week's challenge, what I wanted to allow users to do was to predict 5 years in the future what HBCU enrollment and demographics would be based off of historical performance. I wanted the user to be able to dynamically select a measure of their choice in order to change the chart. So if they wanted to look at total enrollment, to also get the forecast for that, or a percentage of Black students, percentage of non-Black students at HBCUs. And so let's talk about how we build this. And just kind of as a reference point, this utilizes some built-in predictive capabilities within Tableau, as well as parameter actions to kind of drive a lot of this stuff, right? So let's get started. All right, let's blow this up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is connect to our data. And there's our HBCU fall 1976. Before I was even thought of, we're going to use the data interpreter because I know this file doesn't look awesome. So I'll just kind of show you what it looks like straight out of the bag. So you can see that there's some data transformation that needs to be done here because there's like some data clutter, right? So we want to get rid of that, and data interpreter allows us to kind of do that pretty easily. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag my stuff into the view. And I got a lot of stuff here. I don't need all these fields. So the first thing I'm probably going to do is I am going to convert this to a date. And I am going, so do I will need that. And let's see if I can hide all these things at the same time. I can. Winning. I love it. And the only thing I really need are the total enrollment numbers for Black students and the total enrollment numbers for all students, so that I can kind of back into what I'm needing to look at. And you could easily hide this, actually in the view, but I tend to like to do my data transformations here. Okay, cool. So it's what I'm looking to see. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a couple of calculated fields because I need to understand the percentage of Black students, the percentage of non-Black students, and I already know my total enrollment for all students, so that's pretty solid. So let's go ahead and create our first calculated field, and we'll just call this percent of Black students. And all this will be is just the sum of our total enrollment for Black students over our sum of total enrollment for all students. Pretty simple. One too many parentheses. All right, and then just to create the calculation for the non-Black students, all it is 1 minus the percent of Black students. And then all I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to rename this, and we'll just call this total enrollment. Cool. All right, so then I now have my calculated fields. I want to create a parameter. And this parameter is what is going to be the control. I'm going to use this in a couple of different ways. One is to identify which measure the user has selected, and we'll kind of activate that via dashboard action parameter action, and then just some other ways. So let's get started. So I'll just call this measure names P. And let's see if I can change the actual, I don't know why I can't change the type. We'll get there. Make this a string, make this a list, and we'll just give it the exact name that we just did. Students percentage of non-Black students and total enrollment. Cool. All right, so we have our measures, and I just want to pull this up just because. And so now I have to create a calculated view that, or a calculated measure, because I want to be able to say that when, you know, this parameter is on, you know, percentage of Black students, that it returns the values for the percentage of Black students. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is create that. And so we'll just call this selected measure. And we'll use a case statement. And I'll just say the measure names. So when it equals percent. I don't know why I'm tabbing over so much. Then we'll return a value of the percent of Black students, and we'll multiply that by 100 because it's a percentage. When it equals the percent of non-Black students, then we'll say multiply that, and when it equals total enrollment. I am just tab happy here. Then return total enrollment, and we'll just scale this by 1,000, and then we'll end it. Let's see what our error is. Let us see. It's probably this, because we need to turn it into aggregate measure, make sure it's happy, and we did it. So now that we have, and we'll just test this out, and let's get our year up here. And it looks like I'm going back all the way to 1978. I probably just want to go back to 1993 based off of the solution video. So we'll just set that to that magical time period, and we'll just have a starting date and no end. All right, and then if I switch this around, looking pretty good. Okay, cool. And so now I have to actually create my prediction. And so let's go ahead and create that. And actually this was well, I'll just change chart type later. I'm all over the place. Thanks for hanging in there with me, y'all. All right, so we have our prediction, and we're gonna take advantage of model quantile, and I think this was released in like Tableau 2020.4, but you can. And the great thing is, in case you're like, hey, I need more documentation on all this other stuff, there's a lot of knowledge-based articles that walk through the calculation and when you should use one over the other. I'll do a date trunk, and I think I just want the year as far as the date part. So we gotta close that out, and then we're gonna close out the calculation. Let's see if it works, and it does. I'm happy. All right, and so I'm gonna throw this in there as a secondary axis. Not too much excitement actually happening here. So I'm gonna turn this into a dual axis if I can find it. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and just synchronize those so we just get, you know, apples to apples. And then I think in the video or in the solution, this was an area chart. And let me just see what it all looks like. Okay, cool. Little area chart, we'll change the color. Yeah, I think it was like blue or something. Oops. And this was, I think it was like black. All right. Okay, so it's looking pretty good so far. Right, so we've built out most of what we need to build out. We have a prediction, but one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted this to extend beyond our prediction plotted as well as against our actuals. So part of the challenge that we wanted to do was actually our data only goes up to 2018. We want to predict 5 years in the future. So the question is, how do we get all this stuff, those predictions out here? And it doesn't live in our data set. So what we're going to actually do is click on our year peel, and we're going to extend our date range here, and we're going to extend it by, let's just say, 5 years. All right, cool. So now if we were to actually flip stuff around, we have almost the making of what we're intending to do. Now we have to do a couple more steps here just to get this to be done. And so, like, because we had a pretty detailed piece in our title, and so we wanted to understand what was the percentage and did it increase, and what was the the value in the last year of the actual data set. So we're going to actually have to create a couple of calculated fields to make that happen. So the first field that we'll have is what was the last actual value for our data set. And so we'll just take advantage of a window function, and we'll just say, hey, if this was the, and we just do that just to aggregate all the things. And we'll just do window max, and we'll just make that as the max year. You can see I always get all my parentheses locked out. Then we'll want to bring the selected measure, else end. All right, cool. And just because I like to have a little bit of visibility to stuff, I just kind of bring it to the next level or next line. And so the next thing we're going to do is the last predicted value to see how that is. And so we'll do something very similar to what we just did before, but this will just be the last prediction. And we'll just say, hey, the window max, if it's the last value, and then bring back the prediction. Otherwise, don't bring me anything. All right, and then we're just gonna wanna understand if that increased or decreased. And this is just saying if the last actual is less than the last prediction, then increase. Else if the last actual is greater than the last prediction, then decrease. Else remain flat, and then we'll end this. And then because I know for a fact that some of this will be expressed in terms of percentages, some of this will actually be integers. And so I want to be able to kind of dynamically deal with number formatting. And so what I will actually do is create a number format calculated field, just because like it's kind of switching back and forth. And all I'm going to say is if my parameter equals total enrollment, then we'll just do a K, else percentage, and we'll be done. All right, so let's start building this out into our view. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to say by 2023, and then we got to look at the measure that is actually, or the parameter that was selected. At HBCUs is expected to, and we'll see if, oh, I actually have to add this stuff to the view, y'all. So I'm going to throw this in here. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Got a little increase action going on here. And we'll have our predicted value. And then I think it was like versus the last value in the actuals in 2018. I think I had this as being much smaller than the rest of it. All right. Oh, and we need to have our number format in here too. Cool beans. So then when I switch this around, okay, all right. And then I'm just gonna turn this and get all of my trailing zeros out of here. Ah, because the trailing zero wasn't on that. All right, cool. So it's looking like what I would have expected. And then I probably need to add in my number format to the end of this as well, just to be consistent. All right. Okay, cool. And we'll do a little bit of little formatting action. Nothing too spectacular here. And we'll get rid of our, oops, rows and I probably don't want to show this. And we'll just update this guy to get rid of that. And then, so let's see our percentage of non-Black students being enrolled. It looks like it's going up. All right, so then let's actually do one more thing just for our table, not our table calcs, but our tooltip. Because like right now it's not like super awesome. And so one of the things that we want to do is actually like showcase not only the year, but also how well the model, the prediction that we created actually compared to actuals, right? We want to understand the residuals. So let's go ahead and calculate that. And it's going to be just super simple. All it's going to be is, we'll just call this residuals. And all this will be is the selected measure minus the prediction for that particular year. And we're actually going to throw this into our tooltip. And let us actually adjust our tooltips. And what I'm going to want to do, just because, I'm going to throw the selected measure. Oh, gosh. All right. I'm going to throw the selected measure into my tooltip. And I want to do my prediction also in the tooltip, just so that one less place to actually have to do stuff. So we'll put our year here, and we'll put our actuals, actual prediction, and then we'll put our residual. Right. Did I not there? I didn't put my residuals in my toolkit. There we go. And residuals. All right. Okay, this is looking pretty solid. And I probably want to push this out. I want one trailing zero on each of these. Or not a trailing zero, but one space. There we go. All right, cool. So we now have built out the bulk of our view. And so there was that control panel of the different measures that we wanted to be able to select, right? So we got to actually create that control, that measure control. So we'll just call this the prediction, right? And one of the things that we'll want to do in order to create our measure panel, measure control panel, I'll call it that, is we'll bring out our, and this is going to be the super simple part, is we'll just bring out our measure names to columns and our measure values to text or to details. And we don't want all of these. We just want the three that we care about, the ones that we created when we first started, which is percentage of Black students, non-Black students, and total enrollment. And we'll want to add the measure names to our text. And we will actually, we can flip this. It's all good. And we will get rid of this header. And we'll make this a little bit bigger. Probably made it too big, but you guys can judge somebody else. All right, and I think we had some formatting here, so I think it was like some row shading to the pane. I think it was like, I don't know, y'all, it was one of these two. And no banding. We'll just have it that way. Whatever. And we'll have a row divider, and we will make this like that. Not the sexiest thing in the world, and I probably could format this better, but y'all see the point. All right, so now let's create our dashboard. And so I'm just going to throw this into the view, and I'll throw this over here. Oh, don't want it that big. Okay. We'll do something like that. Fit the width. Okay. And then we'll knock out some of this stuff and keep it pushing. And now our last step is to put a dashboard action here, and it's going to run on this workbook, and we'll just do a parameter action, and we'll basically say, if whenever you select this control panel over here, I want you to trigger this and put that in there. And so let's see if it works. Okay, we're in business. And that's it. And that is the solution video for Workout Wednesday 2021, week 5. Thank you.